This ain't no coincidence, man. Today, man, Tank was talking about Floyd winning all his belts, and I was just brought to my attention. Floyd has said it. I beat the best at 130. I beat the best at 135. Now I'm going to beat the best at 140. Man, if this don't sound like Gervonta Tank Davis, exact same thing. I want him to see this. Hey, Tank, remember you talking about Floyd today? About he's one of them ones that did the same thing? I ain't tripping, man. Just brought to my attention. Floyd said, I beat the best at 130. I beat the best at 135. Now I want to beat the best at 140. Who that sound like? That's crazy.
That's crazy. That's scary.
Thank you.
That's scary.
Right on schedule, except you're not 27 yet.
No, I'm just a little early. But he went to 30, 35, then he jumped all the way to 40. I knew I wasn't crazy.
You ain't crazy. I always told you was brilliant. Always told you that.
What's good, family? Smash the like button and subscribe. So we just heard there from Gervonta Tank Davis. Now, before we go into this cooking, I want to say that, listen, I love Tank. Or, sorry, let me recorrect that. Let me say, I think Tank, out of the whole of boxing, he's certainly top 3 in terms of potential. He has very rare one-punch power. However, his management is shocking. Teofimo Lopez. I remember a point in time, when Gervonta Tank Davis was the Teofimo Lopez. He was the up-and-coming 18, 19, 20, 21-year-old who was supposed to be fighting Lomachenko. At which point, when Gervonta Davis was the up-and-coming was the up-and-coming Teofimo, Mayweather, oh man, you know, he young and he don't need to rush, and that's what Mayweather was saying. Hiding Tank, protecting Tank, doing all these goofy things to ruin Tank's light. I believe Mayweather really is sabotaging Tank on purpose. I don't think he wants him to shadow his light. I think he's hiding him away and having him fight old and small and bummy names. How can Tank not have fought one name yet? Think about it. Think of all the names. Think of how thick it is there. Mikey Garcia. Loads of names there. Lomachenko. That's the thing. That division, 130, 135. Them two divisions are shit hot at the moment. A whole bag of names. Old and young. No excuse not to be fighting names. And Tank has moved through 3 divisions now. 130, 135, 140, and has not fought one name. He's crossing off divisions and fighting nobodies. And that's not because I'm a hater. I've just told you, I believe potential-wise, Tank is top 3 in the whole of boxing right now. But his potential is being wasted. Purposefully or not, it's being wasted. Because, guess what? Like I said, Tank's now 26 years old. I remember 6 years ago, Tank was that Teofimo. He was that young cat. He's done nothing in 6 years. I'm sorry, but yeah, you can throw the names out, throw the people out his fort, but they're nobodies. They're not the Mikey Garcias. They're not the A-level fighters. They're not the big names. They're not the Lomachenko, the Mikey Garcia. And the fact that Tank, for example, Tank, you could be getting ready, like, it's not the case yet that people have been ducking Tank. That's not what's happened. Lomachenko was forced to fight Teofimo. Obviously, because of mandatory positions. It's not hard to do. Are you telling me, Tank, who's 4 years older than Teofimo, you telling me he wouldn't have been able to get into a mandatory shot? Of course he would have been. Him and Mayweather didn't want it. Or for whatever reason, he didn't want it. So Teofimo ended up taking Tank's easy work. Because I believe Tank would have made easy work of Lomachenko. I think he would have stopped him as well, truth be known. Instead, Teofimo ends up stealing Tank's easy work. And rightfully so, fair play to Teofimo. Teofimo has what Tank doesn't, and that's a pair of balls, unfortunately. And I actually think it's not Tank. I think it's more to do with Mayweather. I think Teofimo's dad believes in his son and obviously wants his son to do great things. Hence, at 21 years old, fighting someone like Lomachenko. Mayweather believes in Tank, but doesn't want him to do well, or doesn't want him to thrive. Yeah, he's happy for him to nick a few belts here and there against unnamed people, but he doesn't want... Because Tank has something Mayweather never had, and that's one-punch power. Even in Mayweather's prime, he never had one-punch power. Tank's got that, and Mayweather knows it. Mayweather's thinking to himself, you know what, I don't really want... Tank has everything I had, or not everything, but you know what I'm saying? Tank has a good base, and he can punch. I don't want that kind of kid coming up and replacing me. We know how much Floyd loves the spotlight. I mean, it's only up until recently you couldn't get rid of Floyd. Floyd would be talking for Tank. It's kind of glad in a way that Tank's a little bit removed himself from Mayweather. Because before, Tank couldn't get a word in edgeways. Whenever Tank was fighting, all you'd hear from is Mayweather. Shock him. But I mean, at some point, Tank needs to take responsibility for his own career and say, you know what, Mayweather, I appreciate your advice, but I want to make a name for myself. All this fighting nobodies. Like, I'm sorry, that's what he's doing. Running up. What's the point going up weights to fight nobodies? I've never heard of this Barrios dude. Never heard of him. Just like, in fact, everyone he's fought has never been a big name. And it can't be a case of, well, no one wants to fight me, because why aren't you getting yourself into mandatory positions for these big fights? Like I said, if Lomachenko actually wanted, that's the worst thing about it, Lomachenko was actually open to fighting Tank. Because Lomachenko isn't a big name and Tank was on pay-per-view. So Lomachenko was begging for that fight. And Mayweather said, oh, he's old, we don't need to chase him. That was his response, aka, we're not going to fight him. Shocking. And now Teofimo ends up essentially taking that, because Lomachenko was undisputed. Lomachenko was the big scary dude. You could have knocked him out. Instead, the young, hungrier lion, the young person who dared, ends up taking that. So now, even if you do fight him at some point, it's not the same, is it? He's already been beaten. What does it prove? It doesn't prove anything. Now, if you fight him, you could have been that guy. So I do have to question. Even though I blame Mayweather to some extent, I think it's poor management. I think Tank's been overmanaged and overprotected. However, I do have to hold the fighter responsible. Don't these guys have a voice? I mean, if it was my career, I'd be saying, no, I want this. I want to be the one to beat him. Where's that kind of competitive intrigue? I want to get to Lomachenko. I don't care about waiting. I want to get to Lomachenko before someone else does. Where was that from Tank? Didn't hear it. And even if he's been overmanaged, I've never heard Tank speak out of turn kind of thing. I've never heard Tank say, I want Lomachenko real bad. I want to be the one to beat him. Never heard it out of his mouth. Never once. All I've heard him say is, oh, I've got a manager and I'm going to be managed. Wow. I thought he was from Baltimore. Yeah? Teofimo got the whole of Baltimore going outside right now, no doubt. All this hood talk, all this gangster talk, all this, you know what I'm saying? What happened? Where was that? Where was the gangster talk when Lomachenko needed some work? Nowhere to be found. And even now, you're 26 years old. The divisions are packed. Teofimo, Devin Haney, whoever else you've got. I mean, even at 140, Josh Taylor. At 135, Mikey Garcia. I mean, I keep rolling the names off, but there's loads of big names with big belts. And you seem to be fighting none of them. And now, obviously we come to today's topic. Tank says on the video, oh yeah, we're doing what Floyd did. And we've beat the best at 130, 135, 140. You've beat the best at 130, 135 and 140. Which of the best have you beat at 130? Because I remember the best at 130 when you was there was Lomachenko, and you ducked that. I believe you went up first, actually. You started missing weight when Lomachenko was hot. When Lomachenko had just beat Rigondeaux, when he was at his hottest. Back in 2017. You was missing weight. Now, people can say, oh, he was young, for whatever reason. You didn't want none of Lomachenko. and you went up to 135, you got run out of your division. And even then, again, at that point in time, in 2018, Mikey Garcia was at 135. He was the boss at 135 at that point in time. You didn't want no smoke with him either. He's now moved up and done whatever else, but he's back at 130, 145. What about that fight? He's been beat a few times. Why aren't you calling for that? That's a big name. Instead, you're fighting Barrios. Never heard of him. Don't get me wrong, I'm sure Showtime can do some goofy promo, but I'm not interested. I want to hear Tank versus names. Otherwise, what's the point in the sport? I understand you can nick a few millions fighting on pay-per-view, but you're never going to be a pay-per-view star. Let me say it right now. You're never going to be a pay-per-view star fighting nobodies. Never. I don't care how smart Floyd thinks he is. And actually, if you look at Floyd's career, Floyd fought the big names. Yes, he waited till he was 1,000,000 years old, but he did actually fight them. He fought De La Hoya. Well, he was fighting names at some point. Yes, they was well old, but he was fighting them. What are you doing? You're not even fighting the old ones, because Lomachenko's old. He is one of the old names. Lomachenko right now is one of the old names. Is he a De La Hoya? No, but it's more to do with the era we're in. There just aren't many big names in this era, unfortunately. Just the way it is. That said, Lomachenko of the bunch, Lomachenko and Mikey Garcia, they are the biggest of the bunch. Why don't you want them? Why don't you want Teofimo? Why aren't you saying, you know what, Teofimo is undisputed right now. I'm going to go and take one of his... I'm going to go and become mandatory. Or whatever. I don't know. The worst thing is, you're 4 years older than him. How is he the one who's undisputed? That was your position to have, in my opinion. That was your throne and crown. He's 4 years younger and he's stolen it from you. And I think Tank beats Teofimo. But it worries me how he's allowing his career. He's got a real scary resume. Just kind of nicking belts resume. Just, you know what I'm saying? Jumping up and running around and not doing much. Like, in my mind, Tank is at the level where he should always be fighting for belts. Why are you going up to 140 to not fight for a belt? I understand it's undisputed at the moment, so it's difficult, but still. Why are you going up there for? Are you being lazy again? Because you're not a big man. You're only 5'5" or whatever it is. You're not big. It's not like you need to go up. You was 130. I think you even started 126, but whatever. 130. Then you was undisciplined, 135. Now you're going to 140. What's that about? I'm guessing undisciplined some more. So, you went Terence Crawford. Terence Crawford went to 140 and he was 5'9", 5'10". You're 5 foot, and I understand you are you are more thicker built, but still you're not that thick. I don't know. I just feel your career's being ruined, and what worries me the most is the people around you seem deluded. Like the fact you're talking about, oh, we fought the best at 130, we fought the best at 135, and we're fighting the best at 140. The best at 140, categorically, is Josh Taylor. There's no question there. How can a man with no belt ever be the best? So who are you lying to? What is this? The best at 135 is Teofimo. He's got all the belts. So what? Did you fight Teofimo? No. Did you fight the man before him, Lomachenko? No. So what do you mean we fought the best at 135? What is this? It's sick. It's frustrating to listen to. And it's the way that they was all so excited and like, they think it's real. What, at 130? Who from 130 was the best that you beat? Who? Never heard of them. It's unbelievable. Especially when, these days, when there's so many names. You haven't even beat one of them. Fair enough, yeah. If Tank had to beat one of them, I'd get where he was coming from. Well, you know, he's beat one big name. Devin Haney, Teofimo, Mikey Garcia, Lomachenko. Do you know what I mean? Beat one of them, I wouldn't mind so much. But you've literally avoided every single decent name. Even a Tevin Farmer fight at the time was somewhat intriguing. You didn't want that. You was hiding out doing some goofy stuff. So it's just a sad place Tank's in right now. He's obviously making okay money, but I don't know, man. his resume sucks. That's for sure. His resume looking like Wilder's, truth be known. Right now. 100%. And I think when he gets older, he'll regret that he gave Floyd so much weight in his career. And I guess he has got a bit of time, but these smaller weights tend to expire relatively quickly. And the last 5 years he's wasted and done nothing. So when exactly is he going to step up? I don't get it myself. And the fact they're so excited and happy with this mediocre resume is worrying. Where does it end? Like, is he going to do another 5 years of just fighting, nicking, like running around and avoiding all the big names? My point is, where does it end? If for the last 5 years you've avoided every big name, what's going to stop the next 5 years you doing the same?